Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, I'm going to lead with a trigger warning. We're going to be doing a get ready with me, and we are going to be talking about reparenting hacks. But I have a lot of experience when it comes to childhood trauma, right? And so these are a lot of things that have helped me reparent myself. And I say that because a lot of people have not heard that term. And what it just really means is I provide all of the care and love and nurturing that I didn't receive from my parents or from anyone else in, right? So that's why people are like, how can you be so callous and crass or cut people off? And it's like, because I'm able to produce that love from the inside. And that's definitely something that's cultivated. It's definitely a process. It starts with the dark night of the soul. It starts with self accountability, all of the things. But really, you can't really start going through the whole process if you don't know how to self soothe. If you don't know some of the like science based, this isn't some woo crap. I'm talking about, I did not get into what I'm doing because of woo. In fact, I was anti woo. There was no woo for me. I was just like, what's going on? I'm hearing voices and I know I'm not crazy, right? And like things like I'm going out and I'm seeing this, that, and the other. The nature is waving at me. The voices I'm hearing are telling me to go left and tell me to go right when I need to. And all of a sudden, boom, I walk into this restaurant that has a help wanted sign, or you know what I mean? Or someone, I mean, it's just, I have learned. That's why you're like, how are you so confident, this, that, and the other? It's like, I was not confident. I had to go on a 4-month road trip with nothing but a deck of cards, not knowing where I was going to go every single night where I slept until I pulled that deck of cards out. I learned to lean. And then when the cards disappeared, I couldn't use the cards. I had to go on my own intuition and my gut, right? So I've been trained in this. And then it's been proven over and over and over with, being in the private intelligence community. I have an excellent rating and I know I know what my strengths are and I know what my strengths aren't, and I do work on the things, right? I'm always striving, I'm always learning, and that's really what I want to impart to you. But before you do that, you have to be able to sit with yourself. If you're a person that always has to have the television on, that always has to have someone nearby, like there's a lot of trauma you've got to deal with. If you're a person that has gained a significant amount of weight or has developed a chronic disease or especially an autoimmune disease, there is some buried trauma there, right? And people are like, oh, I don't want to be the victim and this, that, and the other. It's not that. Here's the thing, you don't have to play the victim. That's why I'm so passionate about this subject, because I once, like, memory started unlocking when I started to get sober. I was like, ruh-roh, what is this? I don't want to be on the couch for 10 years. This is some serious stuff. I recognized immediately. I was like, oh, I've been repressing some stuff, right? And there's a whole story, and we'll get into that. But when things started floating up to the surface, I was like, oh, I was like, do I have to deal with this? I had to like acknowledge, right, and start identifying and all the other stuff. But reliving all of that stuff, I was like, is this necessary? That stuff that happened to me, that, you know what, I had no part. I wasn't a 18-month-old in diapers wagging my tail at my uncles and my dads, and you know what I mean? I didn't ask to be trafficked by the Seventh-day Adventist Church and my parents, right? I didn't ask to be all of the, like, cursed at birth, all of this crazy stuff, which I didn't even know existed, right? And all of this is going to be coming out in the media, and it, I've had to keep it under wraps because these have been ongoing investigations, ongoing for quite some time. And so with all of that being said, people are like, well, how can you be so? Well, first of all, I had to learn to be able to gray rock and compartmentalize my feelings, right, and disassociate when all of this abuse was happening my entire life, right? I mean, all the way through my husband, my ex-husband. And so being able to just be like, hey, you know what, it wasn't my fault. When, especially now that everything's coming out into open, it was not my fault. So why am I going to take that on? Why I am not going to? What's so wrong with me? There was nothing wrong with me. In fact, there was everything right with me, and that's why predators couldn't keep their hands off of a child. So I'm not going to take that on, right? But what I am going to do is, because it did give me a certain set of superpowers, right? I can be a victim, or I can say, okay, well, I am wired, right? This is my wiring now. I'm super hypersensitive. I mean, my clairs, right, can pick, you have no idea. And it's been proven over and over and over. over and over. I have so many wins under my belt that I can't talk about. So that's why I have all the confidence, because I'm really proud, because I'm taking down the people, right, that did the things to me, which again, all I can do is try and bring justice. And running around pointing fingers isn't the way to go about doing it, right? What you taught me, all of you that are going down from diapers to last week, is that you hone my skills. I cut my teeth on you. You're actually the prey, right? And I am so good at what I do because you were so good at what you did, but it put me into a sense of fight, flight, survive, or fawn. And I did all of the above, right, in survival mode. But now I'm putting you in survival mode because I have all of your memories. I have access to all of your Akashic memories, right? If you step into my energy, I now have access. And so this is going to be a very, very dark time for some very, very dark people, right? Because I know karmic law. What as above, so below. I don't step out and purposely, but I will. I am a walking tower. I am a walking karma. How you treat me is how the rest of your next karmic cycle is gonna. I think people are starting to learn that, right? Just because I got this pretty face that had so many people coming for a child, passing her around like a freaking piñata, right? Oh, I'm taking you all down now, right? The SDA church literally is shutting down churches because of this scandal. This is going to be like the freaking Catholic Church, okay? Because it's an entire sex trafficking ring. And then with the ties to all of the things. So y'all just wait. In fact, it's already hitting. There's some rumbling. There's some rumbling. Oh, and there's some celebrities involved too. So this is a get ready with me that, yeah, so we're going to be talking about giving yourself a gold star. I'm going to go in really quickly. I have put this oil on my face, this argan oil that I've been using. I put in my hair, put in my face. I've got this back. I'm going to go ahead with just some 99-cents witch hazel. This is probably the most expensive thing I have. I think this might have been like $7. Maybe my brushes were $10 as far as makeup in my, oh, those, I got like 16 of these for like $9. And I've had those all year. And then I picked up the lip liners. Yeah, you can see it in my Christmas specials. My Amazon finds. I got like it was like a 12-pack, so I got 6 of these and 6 liners for like $10. So those are the most expensive things. Other than that, everything else is Wet n Wild black mascara liner. I think these were like $4 a piece. So yeah, so we're gonna go, and I'm just trying to get it set up so I can talk and not be rummaging around. So okay, yeah, so this is gonna be just one of my favorite creators did this, and I was just like, you know what, if I can't, so this is going to take a little bit of that oil off, but my skin's feeling, this is where, you know, because I'm starting to get the crow's feet a little, and as I tan during the summer, all this, like this hyperpigmentation, I believe it's called, is going to even out, so I'm not too worried about it. But this is why I don't touch my eyes. I don't, that's why I put very little makeup on them. Any touching, this is just, it's a no, and my acne has cleared up so much. I asked one of my former friends, she's an esthetician, and I was like, what's the thing that I can just really do to not, she's like, don't touch your face. Just stop touching your face. And I didn't realize how much I touched my face. And then also, like, when I'm, you know, stressed out, like, I'm always going in the direction that I want my face to be in, right? I'm never pulling down, never doing that. Why would you do that? You're training your skin, right? So I'm always, if I'm putting something on, I'm always brushing up. If I find myself doing this, you know, I'm just like, plump them up. Okay, let me not say that. I don't like putting that out. As of now, I have not used an ice roller. I just felt like I want to get more into that morning skincare brighten, and I feel like an ice roller would really like do the thing versus all of the creams and salves and all that other stuff. I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job with just oil and really basic ingredients on my face, just trying to keep as much off as possible and not wearing it pretty much at all if need be. So right, it's just like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Is that what they say? So, okay, so I went in with just, like I said, 99-cent witch hazel. And did I bring my tea in? Mer. I want my tea. Okay, so am I gonna stitch this? I think I can pause. Oh yeah, there's a pause. I forgot. YouTube has a pause option. All right, yeah. Hang on just a moment. I'm gonna go get my tea love on. All right. Okay, I got my tea. So this is a fun one. Oh, by the way, my little quick detox hack is those yogi tea packets, the lemon ginger. They're actually really, really gingery, and then just throwing a couple of pieces of ginger and squeezing a half a lemon in like a big tea kettle. That's kind of the hack versus like boiling all the fresh ginger down and everything like that. It's very satisfying. Instead of honey, I've been using those electrolyte packets to sweeten it, the non-sweetened ones, so there's like a peach flavor in there as well. So I'm not getting all of that big sugar spike from the honey. I'm still getting electrolytes. It's giving like a nice little like peach ginger lemon tea vibe, and it's just absolutely fabulous. So, and again, there's just something like earthy to it, so it just feels really satisfying. So we're going to talk about the snowflake effect. Okay, so my ex-husband's best butt buddy, Trey, actually wrote a book about this, the snowflake or whatever. You always hear about it, like, you're special and you're just like everybody else. And like all of the kids getting award for not doing anything. Like there's that whole whatever. And I totally understand that. But if you are a child that was neglected and emotionally abused and all that was taken away, getting no accolades, getting no accreditation, nothing, anything you did. Like I remember I wrote like a full on play, had like a whole character list for like my entire class, and they ended up making me go back. Instead of graduating with my class, they said I was too immature, and they held me back a grade while I was in fifth grade reading level. I was in the fifth grade class reading with the fifth graders as a first grader, actually a second grader. But yeah, so, and that's because they were like, she's so immature that she wrote like a full on play. I actually performed it. I had scripts. This is at 6 years old, mind you. Okay. So they squashed my inner Hamilton, but so I didn't get any of that. And then just being raised in a very strict, Seventh-day Adventist church, no sports, so Friday night, Saturday nights out, never being able to spend the night, all of the things. I never got any, all I just got from people when I went to church is, she's so pretty. And I was just like, making sure that my dress was covering up my bruises, because my mom would take an electric cord, right, and whip me coming out of the shower. Right? I mean, anyways, so I had a lot of explaining to do. First of all, to myself, I had to get over the fact that, right, it wasn't my fault, right? And as long as you can say like, oh, because people are just like, why, I don't care if you thought you were some little Lolita at 13 seducing your stepdad who'd been touching you your entire life, right? Like that, you were groomed, you were conditioned to do that. You cannot blame yourself. These are adults that took advantage of children. Your prefrontal cortex isn't even, as a female, even formed or fully grown till you're 28 years old. Why do you think you have all these guys? Why do you think I went undercover catching sugar daddies, right? Because they're all trying to get all these young'uns, right, that aren't fully formed in their brain. And there are some good sugar daddies out there, but the most of them, and a lot of them, they'll even put it on there. They're like, I'm looking for a girl with daddy issues, right? And they're like, I want a daddy. Right? So there are a lot of predators on that forum, and I was able to nab quite a few, right? So here we have to understand is that you cannot take that on. Now, when we're talking about like trauma and you're remembering these things, I'm just saying, it's okay, get access to the memories that give you information that can possibly bring evidence, right? That's where I will tap into a memory to see if I can remember. I remember things like being in the baptistry, right, of a church. Why am I in the baptistry? Why am I watching other kids getting dunked underwater, including myself, in the baptistry during church school, during church hours by grown men, right? That's why I sent the police to go check the DNA, right? Like, it's not just adults in there, right? This is real serious stuff. So you are able to, if you can, strategize and weaponize, right, your experience I'm telling you, it's absolutely life-changing. So, reparenting hacks, gold star. I say, good girl. I treat myself like, I talk to myself like a little girl. I was like, okay, I was supposed to have twins, and then I was supposed to have another daughter. Okay, so I was supposed to have little girls. And so I'm like, if anybody, because if I don't feel like I have the capability, I've always treated people better than I've treated myself, right? I've always worried about them. And that's just the way I was, conditioned. And so I was like, okay, how do I navigate this world while remaining, I love my childlike nature, but also people take me as naive, all this other stuff. So I was able to get, into the intelligence community and be able to weaponize this and monetize it in order to be able to, yeah, this is payback. This is vigilante. But I'm doing it legally, right? So that's why I don't use, and I didn't know I was the girl with all the gifts. They've just been coming more online as I've cleaned up my vibration, as I learn about things. I didn't know anything about witchcraft. Now I had to learn how to protect myself. Turns out I'm really good at it. Just doesn't mean that. Here's the thing is I understand karmic law. Why does life seem to be so good? Why? Because if I were to go and use magic to get something that does not belong to me, that would be incurring karmic debt. And I have cleared mine for the most part. Every once in a while, I don't mind like getting a little petty, right? And just being like, all right. But usually all I do when it comes to magic, I don't have to, people are throwing so much that all I have to do is just transmute it. And instead of throwing it back, now I'm just like, oh, well, I'm just going to use that towards this. And it's energy is energy. Doesn't matter your intention, right? It's only if I believe if I decide I'm going to take on that intention, be like, oh my God, they hate me so much and they're throwing magic at me. I guess I'm going to have cancer. No, maybe you and your family are going to have cancer. Maybe I'll turn that into like a new car or, I don't, going viral or whatever it is, or every time you do magic, like my relationship with my partner gets stronger, right? That's the thing. It's just like a bowling alley, right? You throw the bowling alley. I've got gutter lanes now, so it's just you're fueling me, right? And so I fuel myself from the inside. So when people go bananas, which they're always going to do within my energy, right? I'm a walking trigger, and I'm a walking tower, and I'm walking karma, and I'm walking judgment day. And that's as above, so below, and in the 3D, because I do have friends in high, low places, and also with eyes on you at every moment. You Google my name, and you're now on the radar. So there's a lot of, right, pride. People are like, who do you think you are? And I'm like, oh, I wish I could tell you. I wish I could tell you. But you know what? I do what I do because this is how I, right? So I don't need your accolades. I don't need for you to believe in me or anything like that. The people that matter, they're the ones that got me the job, that recruited me, right? So yeah, there's a lot of pride when someone comes to you, to your basketball team or your football team and says, I want you. We see talent in you. Let's go ahead and blow some wind onto that fire. And we've got systems in place because people do this professionally all the time and have been since the 60s. Let's teach you. You've got a raw natural talent. So I don't understand why anybody would be so upset, right? So upset that I would be using a God-given talent, except for the fact that it exposes them. And if you have nothing to hide, then why would you be afraid, right? Why would you demonize it? If there was nothing, if I couldn't find anything out with the cards or remote viewing, then why do you have such a problem with it? I don't have a problem with people slandering my name and everything. I let them go have at it. The more rope, that's more money I'm going to make in a civil suit, right? I don't have to defend something that's not true. My character shows the way I live my life, and the only people I care about whose opinions are the people and I only have one person close to me other than my colleagues. One person in my vicinity that I care about. And people have already seen what happens when you come for me and you come for mine. Mi familia. Regardless of whether I'm Sicilian, Haitian, whatever it is, I've got the voodoo high priestess Sicilian mobster in me. So I also talk to myself like I said, like a baby. So it's okay. It's going to be okay when something does go wrong. People don't see. I don't go running to other people when I have problems. I don't tell people my problems. People will weaponize that and use that against you. See his weakness, all of those things. And here's the thing: is I feel all those things. I I don't no one I don't need anybody's valid. All I need to do is talk to my angels, talk to my guides, right? Hang out with my cards. I get all of the I have cards when I'm feeling down, whatever I need to. I've got my big Bertha deck where I go and I'm just like, oh, it's a prayer. It's like reading the Bible, right? I'm not. I had to read the Bible 3 times. I did it once for like church because I was gonna do it. I did another time because I wanted to, like, blah blah blah. I was 16, and then I did it another time academically when I went to, um, seminary classes. Not seminary classes. Excuse me. When I was looking to get my religion. I cannot speak. My degree in religious studies. Self-hugging, also very big. Also knowing, so weighted blankets, some people find that a little difficult. Like, in the middle of the night, it suppresses them too much. I've also found like bodysuits are really, really like being able, knowing that you have a central nervous system, especially if you've grown up in a household that was just chaotic, or with a parent that you never know and that you were going to step out of the shower and get whipped, or raped or molested or fed, whatever it is, right? So my central nervous system, and this is where people, abusers, want to keep you in that fight, flight, right? Because if you start calming down, then you start clearing your mind. If you start doing yoga and getting all the energies going through your chakras, you might start your pineal gland. If you start eating better, if you stop taking prescription drugs, all these things, you start getting clearer and you start remembering things. Or they're saying, oh, you're getting too good for us, blah, blah, blah. You can't hang around. You can't do the things with us, right? People, the crabs in the bucket, right? And so I talk to myself like I'm a little baby. And so if somebody does hurt my feelings, I don't let them see that. That was like fodder for the frickin' sharks, especially my mom. When I'm talking about, you know, I mean, I remember just blacking out as a baby, just her coming towards me, right? And my head being hit a lot. I remember being drowned, right? And this is before we moved from New York. So I know I was under the age of 5. So self-hugging, though, is really big. I will. When I feel like I need a hug and there's no one around, here's the thing, is people feel they try and get that from other people. When I realize it's not going to happen, right? Because people will take things away from you. Even if they love you the most, people will always let you down. It's human nature, right? They get triggered or they have a bad day or whatever. So you cannot rely on other people and your mental health. You have to be the only one that has any say-so in your mental health. That's why you do not ask people's opinions when you have ideas. You do not tell them your ideas. You do not tell them. If you learn to, like, if you got to journal it, if you're interested in talking to, your angels and guides, whatever, you can open yourself up to that. If that's not the way you want to go, then you can open yourself up to the universe. And when I say universe, I'm not talking about woo. I'm talking about, when I say the universe, I'm talking about the quantum field, which is just energy, right? Because what I really do is work with energy. Spirituality and all that other stuff, honestly, I'm not that spiritual. I believe in quantum physics. I believe in I believe in, I mean, every deity is welcome for me to be curious about them and read into them. I have a curiosity. I no longer have a fear. I was terrified. People aren't jumping into your body unless you're doing low vibrational things like sitting in a trap house with a needle in your arm or whatever. Then yes, you are absolutely opening yourself up, right? But if you've got your vibration under wraps, even when people throw like projections at me, I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, that sucks. And I'm like, I don't speak to myself that way. And I'm like, okay, is this mine? And boom, it goes away. So that's one really great thing to know. If an energy, all you have to say, is this my energy? And then all of a sudden you'll feel it go away. Because people will try and project it on you and make you think what they're thinking. And it's crazy how much people, the telepathy tapes, if you don't believe that, you're just, I'm sorry. And I don't know if that telepathy is real. It's how I communicate all of my colleagues. I've communicated with most of the past people I've had relationships with, that were intuitive. I mean, it's a real thing. I had 4 years of celibacy, and it wasn't all celibacy because it was celibacy with the body, but it wasn't up here, right? I had 2 people that I was seeing completely energetic, and I had some of the best orgasms I've ever had in my life with being across the country. So it's a real thing. Tantra is a real thing. Energy, Reiki, remote healing, all the things, it's a real thing. If you don't want to believe it, that's a-okay. I am not here to recruit you. I'm just letting you know it's out there. It can be developed. It's super easy if you just unwrap your mind because it's all just brain waves and radio waves. So if you understand it that way, and so like tapping into the depth, who really, like who? I'm sorry. People don't want things that don't belong to them. People don't want things. If you work for everything you get, and you've got carry yourself with self integrity, behind the scenes, you're doing the right thing when no one's looking. That's been the key. You're like, how do you manifest? You're doing all this other stuff. No, I I stopped lying. I stopped stealing. I say stop stealing, like even at an Airbnb, not even touching somebody else's hot sauce because my karma, I got hot sauce on my favorite dress because I snaked it, right? Just for a meal, but it wasn't mine. The universe had to teach me. I could only, because I didn't grow up having any uh, belongings. Everything, even my clothes, my mom's like, those are mine. You're borrowing my clothes, right? And I never had anything so I was a little klepto, right? I'd steal like my mom, like my grandmother's, I stole one of her earrings, right? Because it was precious. It's like a pearl and a diamond or something. I didn't know like the cost of a diamond or the worth or whatever. I just thought it was something pretty and it was my grandmother's, right? I mean, and now I understand everything behind that. And then I had to undo those behaviors because it would just be like, oh, I'd walk into somebody's house and then instead of asking for a piece of candy, I'd just take a handful. Little things like that, karmic debt, right? Lying, telling white lies when I didn't have to. Why would I do? Well, for most of my life, it was to save my life with my ex-husband. I mean, I had to, right? I was navigating true, actual, unalivers. So and I didn't understand that till later, right? And so the self-hugging, the self-nurturing, the treating it like I treat myself like I'm a puppy, like I'm a little baby girl, and I talk to myself in there, and I had to do a lot of undoing of the negative self-talk. So also, realizing that your subconscious takes over, and then you just get, so you need to really start looking into NLP, neuro linguistic programming. That's why I really got into Tony Robbins. He was like, you don't have to be. I was abused. You don't have to be on the couch for 10 years with the therapist sucking your thumb saying, wow, my daddy touched me and it wasn't my fault. And now it's no. All you have to do is just bypass. And I'm not talking about spiritual bypassing. I'm talking about actual science. People have been using this on people to hypnotize for I don't know how many years. Let me not butcher that. But this is just something that you can learn and reprogram your mind within a couple of years. And when you reprogram your mind and realize that your thoughts become things, and you reprogram your life and you can change your life. So self-soothing. Okay, processing emotions. This is a biggie. Another reason why people think that I'm so like, they're like, oh, she must be a sociopath. And I probably do have some sociopathic tendencies because I would have to, right? Growing up with my parents. Trying not to get thrown up against the wall, trying not to get raped or molested, trying not to get fed to the pastors or the deacons or anything like that, right? There are a lot of things that I had to do to, so there was a lot of repressed emotions. And then that ended up coming out, and right, I stopped weighing myself at 320 pounds. Okay, so I know I've lost 170 pounds, but I stopped weighing myself at 320 and I went beyond that. Okay, so first of all, then developing two autoimmune diseases. Now that when people tell me they have an autoimmune disease, I ask them what year they got it, and then how old were they, and then I ask them did they have any traumatic, right? Well, I was raped in college. Right? It's body. It's not. But I didn't tell anybody. Nobody would believe me or whatever it is. So the body, all cancer, right? Also, where you get cancer. Did you get cancer early in your life? Where was it? Where was the location of it? Right? That gives a big indication that might be a traumatized place in your body, right? Where other people's DNA, or you know what I mean, like intentions were deposited there. I'm talking about like this. I told you this is going to be triggering because I've seen it over and over and over again. And unfortunately, because of my passive trauma, I say unfortunately, but it's fortunate and unfortunate because every time I meet somebody, all I do is I get downloads. I get packaged downloads of their trauma. So they can't hide it from me. They'll be like, I wasn't raped. I wasn't molested. I wasn't blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, I just saw it in my mind's eye. But you keep believing that. And I realize I'm in their life to trigger them into an awakening, which is the most people that I know. If it's not SA trauma, it's, physical, but I mean, just fathers being awful to sons, all of the things, right? So, but that also allows me to be able to expose them to information that might help them recognize and process, or, and also realize what disassociation is, and, just lifting the veil. But I naturally do that, right? Because the people that are around them see that in me, right? And they see I have, this is the tea, y'all. I have a signature that predators, because I was essayed and trafficked, right, through my parents and everything that for so long, I have the signature that predators pick up on. Like, oh, this is right. This is this is this is one. This is an easy take. This is the candy from the baby, and they don't know that the baby has an Uzi. So I let my natural energetic signature, which is just being lovely, which is me being me, attracts them. Why do you think they stuck me in strip clubs? All of them. Well, not all of them, but the top tier ones in San Antonio, right? I just have to be in the room, and I'm picking up on, oh yeah, the palace, all the attorneys, all the judges, and you're wondering why everything's falling down, London Bridge. Let's see here. So I guard my inner child. So I told you about the whole, I treat myself like I would a daughter. So if someone like were to text me like some shitty thing, whatever, if I were my daughter's mother and I were to watch and look at that text, I'd be like, oh, hell no. But if I were back in the day when I was, codependent and everything like that, I'd be like, maybe he didn't know that. I'd make excuses for him. If you ever watched that movie, Amelie, where she's like, well, maybe he was kidnapped by gypsies in Istanbul, and now he's in the desert without any food or water, and then the Vikings came and snatched him away, and now he's at sea, and I know he's thinking of me. I know he's writing a letter to me, and his blood on the wall of the ship. Or he's just not that into you, like they said back in the 90s. Or there's that movie or whatever. He's just not that into you, right? And you can see that as a mother to your daughter, but when you're like coming from, like, especially when you have issues with rejection and abandonment, and people like, I mean, I never had anybody not cheat on me, right? And I never cheated. So, what it's like, well, what, because I could go around and be like, men always cheat. Well, actually, the women did. Actually, the first girlfriend I ever had, like one girlfriend that like it was like my girlfriend, right? After I was out of the house, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna like explore. I found her in bed with my best friend and her ex-girlfriend, and I wasn't invited. They were all really pretty. Hattie Pink, you remember who you are? Yeah, I'm not. I have no qualms with pointing the fingers out to my abusers either. I'm not carrying anybody's secrets, right? I don't care if the family, like, that's the thing, is you have to be willing, if you want to go through this journey and just really like cut the family off. I had to do it one Thanksgiving. I had to call my dad and be like, I know what you did last summer or my entire life. I also know that you're going to try and use me because you're a commodities trader, use my psychic gifts, right, to make trades. Because did you know the Masons like to take human victims and open up their insides and paw around in their body cavities to make stock trade predictions? It's called prostignation. Look it up. Yeah. So, and I mean, let's just, and then everybody that's involved in that, right, has now seen it. So now they're involved. So now they're under blackmail. That's why you can't leave. You can't do all the things. I'm not saying all Masons are bad, right? I'm not saying everybody in the trailer park is a meth head, right? I'm not saying everybody in the ghetto is a gangster. I'm not saying everybody in the barrio fucks their sister, okay? But all right, so I guard myself, and I let people meet my inner child. I let you meet Mara, right? But as soon as someone takes my kindness and my lightheartedness for a weakness, right? My King of Swords is right there. And by the way, I, as a child, now I know, right? My peripheral vision is getting, as I clear up my diet, the more I do OMAD, which is 1 meal a day fasting, right? My senses is sharpened. I can feel my eyes going, basically, I feel like an owl, like to the back of my head. It's just crazy when you like stop smoking so much, and like, your olfactory will start coming in, your clairgustance. Also, well, I won't tell y'all. I'm going to gatekeep that. We'll let you figure that out. But, you know, a lot of people are sacrificing their own gifts coming for a high priestess. So, and here's the thing: is I would never, like back in the day, I would never consider high priestess. Like, who am I? I'm some biblical, mythical. No, it's an archetype in the cards, so I'll come up as an archetype because I do see past beyond the veil, and that's not something that I purposely try to do. It's something that I've been fighting my entire life, and now I've opened myself up to it. But I also do it, you know, in an ethical way. Uh, I don't pry into people's lives. Even if somebody comes to me to get a reading done on someone, I do my due diligence to find out what that person's intentions are for the reading on the person that they're getting, right? So I won't even do a reading or step into somebody else's energy, especially if it's like a partner reading. I really like, unless it's a divorce, I'm not doing love readings and stuff like that, because that is that's going to somebody else's energy without their permission, right? But if we're in, like, we're locked down, this honestly, all of my clients when it comes to divorces have been men, because women can't. The few women that have come to me, because I'm excellent at what I do. I get guys out, and they've all been pilots, like just like that, because there's always leverage, right? I find the leverage. I don't create it. I don't have to, right? If somebody's doing something wrong, somebody else is doing something wrong. So I can help people, and I'm not anti-women. I want to help women get out of divorces, but they cannot handle this, and they can't handle being told, like, hey, you screwed up, this is how you fix it. They can't do it, right? And so then they come for me, right, and get all their rabid friends and whatever because I told them the truth about themselves, and they can't stand it, right? So that's why I typically work with men. And it's not because I'm some honeypot, this, that, and the other, because I conduct myself. I wouldn't be able to have the reputation I did if I am dicking some people down and throwing love spells. I don't have to throw a love spell. In fact, I have to throw up protection magic because I got people on my trail because I'm a high priestess. Okay, so I'm not after your man. If you feel like you need to clutch your purse and clutch your man because I walked into the room, the problem is not me. I don't want your sloppy seconds. The problem is your man and your relationship with your man. Take that to the bank every day. Okay, so yes, I'm comfortable with being the King of Swords. I'm comfortable, and here's the thing: is I was not always comfortable. I didn't speak. I would cry around authority, and then I had to start working with, like, pilots that are flying, you know, Airbuses and 747s, and like I had to be able to. And then in the restaurant business, and I'm going around, you know, regionally, going out and going to, you know, people's restaurants, talking to the general managers, doing a shift in their restaurant and pointing out every little crappy thing, right? Dressing these big managers down and saying, this is what's wrong with your restaurant, right? I had to get really comfortable with speaking to people without, like, you know, bringing any emotion to it, right? I'm able to compartmentalize well, right? There's a little bit of that. People would say, oh, it's sociopathy. It's actually not. It's delayed. It's delayed reaction. So I'm able to delay my nervous system. That's why I'm really good in emergencies, right? Because I've had so much trauma and panic and everything like that, that my body actually will calm down and get myself through the storm, and then my body will process. I'll cry and shake, and I let it go through my body. I'll do other things, but I do it in private, right? But when you know that your body actually takes in energy and then it has to process it out, you just realize that it's a biological thing. Then you're able to, like, take yourself out, get a bird's eye view of the situation, and be able to, right? This is like stepping into flow really, really quickly and being able to handle it. And that's why I'm really interested. That's what I was recruited for, right? I got pulled out of my class, you know, in a very, very strange way. But what people don't know is, like, you know, I was recruited because I was going to get into hostage negotiation, and then everything else progressed with my abilities, and now here we are, right? And so, and I'm still, you know, looking to get into that. But, you know, when you start combining a set of skills with your, you know, your trauma from childhood, right? And anxiety is a gift. Fear is a gift. Your body giving you, you know, that is a gift. That is something that you can hone in on. And then also, you know, just educating yourself and opening yourself to different experiences, and not doing the la la la, and being able to see both sides of, you know, with me being a Gemini ascendant, I'm able to see both sides and argue both sides of an argument. And I won't make an opinion about something or speak on something unless I've looked at both sides. So when somebody comes to me and says, oh, this man is cheating, this, that, and the other, I'll immediately look at what they're doing. Anybody that points the finger and blames someone else has something to hide if they're trying to convince me of something, right? And so I just really want, I guess we're not doing any makeup. I'm incapable of rubbing my tummy and patting my head, but obviously, like, this is the message that needed to come out. So we're just going to go ahead. I'm going to do my makeup and I'm going to upload this. We'll see how long it takes. And mwah, thank you. I don't know if we're going to chop this up. I think I'm just going to put it up, and I'll figure out a decent title or something. We'll just go ask Chad, Claude, or DeepSeek. All right, catch you on the flip. And if you're still here with me, much love. Bye.